All right, so we are going to go into Blender. Here's my startup file. Again, I've got this on. We are going to use the Loop Tools plugin. So if you go to Preferences and get extensions and search for and install Loop Tools, we're going to play with that shortly. So make sure you get that done, and I'll walk through our file format. So I'm going to go File. I could save this as, and that is not the right folder. So again, I've got my documents folder. I've got a Blender folder in there, and then I've got, for me, I've got 220 and then 2025. So I've got a folder here that's going to hold all my folders. So I'll make a new folder, new project folder called Week 2, Furniture. I'll put my initials on that to help the grader. And in there, again, we'll make 4 folders. So textures, which we will use, scenes, exports, and renders. And in my scenes folder, I'll save whatever this is. So my default, I'm going to call it furniture. I'll put my initials on that too, just in case. Save. All right, so see up here, there's my entire folder path, documents, Blender. Here's my folder for this class, week 2, scenes, and then the name of my file, furniture. Which right now we got Spidey in here, and I will give you access to that. But again, he is just a cube with a texture on him, and he's 1.8 meters tall because we're up on the. Wait a minute, did he get flipped? Oh, because I've exported him and re-imported him. So yeah, Z's up in Blender, Y's up everywhere else. I've exported him out and then brought him back in, so my dimensions are weird. But he is 1.8 meters tall, which is roughly 6 foot tall, and so I just use him for scaling. So I'm just going to take him, and I'm going to come over here, and I don't think we've looked at this yet, but I've got this like hierarchy view in the corner of the objects that I've got. I've got a camera, I've got a light, and I've got life-size Spidey. And I've got an eyeball here, so I can just literally poke him in the eye and turn him off. So he exists, but he's not showing in this view. Now, if I did a render, let me just go to my camera view here, turn him on, turn him off. Right, this camera means he'll show up in the render. So if I do a render image, there's Spidey Cube. But he's not showing up in here because I just want him out of the way so I can build something else. Make sense? So I could make it where if I don't want him in the render either, I can turn off that, turn off the camera, and maybe he only shows up in here for scaling, but I don't want him in the render. But those buttons there help turn those things on and off. All right, so we get out of camera view, and we're going to start by creating a table. And how are the videos going? Is this helpful? All of the mouse stuff, because that's super huge. It's like taking up my whole view. But in the video, hopefully they help. So I'm going to go add. We're going to make a cube. So mesh, cube. We got a cube here, and by default, that is 2 meters by 2 meters by 2 meters. And so if Spidey is 1.8 meters tall, this is like a giant, like 6 foot, 7 foot cube. Too big for a table. So we can change the scale of that here. So since I just did add cube, again, I've got this little menu down here that says add cube, and I can change stuff here, right? So I can just say be a 1 meter cube, or I can change this location, rotation, all this other stuff here. Change it back, so just make it a 2 meter cube, and I'll scale it. So I can change things about it until I click off, and now it's stuck being a 2 meter cube. But that's too big. So I'm going to hit, I can use this button over here, or I can use S for scale. I'm just going to click this button, and we're just going to scale it down. So we don't need a whole table to be taller than we are. So we'll pull that down a whole bunch. Pull it in a bunch. We'll make it a nice big gaming table. So we'll leave it the 2 meters on the Y. And again, tilde and 3 zooms in on what I've got selected. That's a thick table. Pull that down on the scale some more. I'm going to start by making the table top. So I can eyeball it by using the scale tool, or if I've got this N panel open, so I hit N and this comes in and out, my dimensions are here. So it's still 2 meters on the Y. We're at like 0.838 there. Let's just make it 1. We'll make it square-ish. So this is a huge gaming table. Nice and big. I don't know, what is 0.04 meters in inches? That still looks super thick. So I'm just going to type in like 0.025. Sure. So we've got just the tabletop. All right. Now I want to turn that off. So I'm going to go back to my select tool so I don't accidentally scale it anymore. And let me, using my middle mouse button and then moving, I want to go underneath it. And then with it selected, I can see it highlighted in yellow or orange or whatever. I can hit tab and we go into edit mode. So I can access vertexes, edges, or the faces. So I'm just going to grab the bottom face here and I'll show you something cool we want to do. So I want to inset the bottom. Right, so it comes in a little bit and then we'll extrude down for the bottom frame of it. So once I'm in edit mode, I get more tools here on the side. And this guy right here, inset faces, is what I want to use. So I just click and drag in that guy. Why are you not working? Love it when it doesn't work. Oh, and I moved it apparently. So that's, I've still got, yeah. So it does. It does. And yeah, so good point. There's probably a half a dozen ways to do literally everything. Could go up to 100 ways to do anything. So I'll try to show those, each of those. So what happened here is I accidentally had 2 faces selected, so it didn't work right. So I'm just going to Control Z and undo all that. Make sure I've just got 1. And again, if I'm paying attention, I can see that I've only got 1 out of 6 faces selected. Then should work better. So I've got the bottom one selected. Let me just inset that. So if I grab, like I said, inside the circle and drag down, look at what happens. I want that offset even, and it's set to offset even, but it looks funky because we did scaling on this cube. Right, so we started with a cube and we shrunk and stretched it like taffy basically, and so it's all wonky. So I don't like this. I want these insets to be even. So let me show you how you fix that. If you go to do any kind of function like this and things are off, you probably need to reset the scale of your guy. So I'm going to Control Z again and undo. I'm going to tab out here to where I'm back in object mode. You can see it says object mode up here. Look, because of all the stuff we did changing the dimensions of this, I can see in this panel that my scale is off. Apparently I went negative on the Z. Let me just fix that really quick. 0.0125. I don't want to invert that. So it's inside out. So I'm just fix that. But these scales, this is what's causing my insets to be wonky. So with this object selected, if I hit Control A, say Control A, there we go. Then I can apply the scale and watch what happens on the side there. Now my scale is all back to 1, 1, and 1, even though I've retained my dimensions. So the object doesn't look any different. But now if I go into try to inset this, you can see that maintains equal distance from the sides when I inset it. Make sense? So I'll reset the scale. I'm going to inset yay far some. So now this will be like the overhang of the table. And I'm going to inset again one more time to get just like the little frame part. And so this line is what I want to extrude, is like what the tabletop's sitting on. I'm going to do one more thing here. So with that, I'm going to get off of my inset tool here. So I've just got this face selected. There's multiple ways to do this as well. I'll show a few. So I'm gonna do some things and then undo it and do it a different way, just so you can see a couple ways to do things. So I've got the face selected. I can go to, I believe it's face. Nope, it's not. It's edges. So if I go to edges here and hit subdivide, it'll start breaking up my geometry. I got this panel open, so I can say go to 2, and I get like the cool like tic-tac-toe checkerboard on the bottom, which is, this is the shape I want to end up with, so that I can extrude some legs. Now they're not positioned the way I want, but it's as many cuts as I want. So I want a leg in this corner, and a leg in this corner, and a leg here. So I can do that with subdivide, and it just adds in lines, so I've got more things I can do. So we can do it that way, or undo, Control Z, and I'm going to do this by connecting edges. So if I click this edge on the inside, and then shift and click another edge on the inside, same thing. I'm just going to edge, subdivide, and then it still does that, but it doesn't exactly do it kind of the checkerboard style that it did earlier. So I can just get cuts along one way. You can add number of cuts. By default, just clicking this guy goes up to 10 and stops, but if I wanted to, I could type in higher numbers. I don't need all these faces, but I'm just showing ways to add edges to our things. So I'm going to go back to 2, and that's what I need. So it looks like subdividing the face is actually easier for what I need, but again, this is a different way. So if I just wanted to connect these, let's try that. Do these 4 here, same deal. Not that one, this one. Double check, I've only got 4 edges selected. Edge, subdivide. 2. A lot of steps to do the same thing we did in one step at first. All right, so they're here. I've got the cuts I want. I'm going to move them. So I'm going to take this guy, this one, and I could like manually move them, or by scaling I can pull them apart from each other. So I'm going to grab both of these edge loops here, and I'll use my scaling tool, which again is going to jack up things for future use, but I'm just going to use scale away from the middle, and it's going to move them equidistant toward the edges just by scaling. Do that here. I can shift and click and select multiples. The other thing I can do is I can just select one like this, and then I can come up here to select edge loops, and it's going to grab everything along that line as long as it hasn't been split up. Showing too many ways to do things. So now I've got all 6 of these selected. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to use the scaling tool on the X and pull those out until I get some roughly square shapes here in the corner. All right, all of that, again, we didn't change the geometry yet, like visibly, but I've got all these cuts in place to do cool things later. So I'm going to go to faces, get off of scaling. So I'm going to go back to just my select tool, and I'm going to grab this inner frame here, zoom out. I'm holding down shift. I'm just going to select all 4 of those, and I'm going to select the 4 little corner guys that I created. I've got an extrude tool here, or you can hit E as a shortcut and just pull those down. Come down yay far. You've ever played underneath your table at the house? You know, this is what it looks like. Ask your dog. This is where they hang out and beg for food. And so now it all came down, and now what I could do is I can grab just the 4 and extrude those down. Pretty well got a table, and we're going to do some other stuff to this to fancy it up. But we could say that's the table we want. I'm going to undo. I'm going to only come down a little bit. Come down yay far, and we'll do something fancier here in a minute. So I've just got little stubby legs. I'm going to come to the top here and talk about toddlers, as is my want. So, yeah, weird, right? We have younger siblings. Yeah, they run into things, run around the house, especially when they're learning to walk. They smack into everything. Who wants to sue IKEA because your toddler stabbed their eye out on these sharp corners? Some people, yeah, some people will want to do that. We're gonna round those corners. Like that is dangerous. What is going on here? So I'm gonna go over here to edge mode, and I'm gonna select this one corner here, and I could use my middle mouse button and pan around and shift click and select all those. I'll show you another shortcut for selecting. So I'm just gonna grab this corner. I'm gonna go select, and then an edge loops. This time I want rings. So I'm gonna select the edge ring, and you can see I've got 4 edges selected. It's selected all the way around those edges. Yeah, it's super handy. No, any of the, like, there's a billion shortcuts in here that are super handy, because sitting here and shift click 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 click, that could be half your job in Blender. Like that could be, you spend all day doing that. So eventually you're going to want to find shortcuts. So I've got all 4 selected. I'm going to use this bevel tool here. So I'm going to click on that guy, grab this arrow, and pull. You can see if we overdo it, we get super wonky. So I'm just going to come in a little bit. So we've just cut the edges off. And when this pops up here, I can add segments and make that rounder. So I'm go up to like 4 or 5, make that a nice round edge. Still a little sharp on the bottom, but now we're not quite as in much danger of Junior poking his eye out. I mean, where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, kids are gonna find ways to hurt themselves either way. But all right, I'm gonna keep just getting silly here. So I'm gonna keep being fancy. I've rounded those edges. I'm gonna take this top here, and hit I to inset it and come in just a little bit. And I think I'm just gonna pull it up a little bit. A little bit of drop off there. So just got a little bit of angle here. And if I go in here and I select any of these buttons, everyone got their X, Y, and Z showing? Okay, if something happens and your X, Y, and Z don't show, it's this guy right here. So I don't know what's going on. Why is it archery? I don't know. It looks like an archery set over here. That turns it on and off. But with that showing, I can just hit like this and I get, boom, a perfect top-down view from the Z. Or what I want to look at is from the X. And if I zoom in, I can see that I pulled that up. And then Alt, go to the other side. Middle mouse button with the shift, and I can start to pan things around. But I can see I've got this angle going on here. So I inset it and just pulled it up a little bit. We could do more rounding there. But that's kind of enough right now for a top. See, we've got a cool little bevel around. And it's rounded. So we're not trying to take people's eyes out. What? Oh, so okay. I think I know what happened. So you might have inset without giving it any numbers, and then inset again. So that's possible. Let me show you. Kind of. We'll detour. Thanks to you. All right. So I'm just gonna grab this face here, and I can inset, like, barely or not move it at all. And I can inset again and bring it in. And I'm going to tilde 3 and zoom in here. And so what happened is, I think what happened with you is you actually inset it twice. And so there might be extra vertices. Look at this. So when I select this vertex here, I can see these orange lines light up. Zoom in more. So this vertex is attached to this edge and this edge, and it's attached to this edge, but it doesn't appear to be attached to this edge here. So that's what happened. So we basically duplicated a set of edges or vertices, and we've got just extra loops there that are causing it. So if I move this guy, right, it's not including that corner like I would expect it to because I accidentally inset it. So let me show you the fix for that if you accidentally oops that. So I'm going to go Z, move that back. And I'm going to, so I can use box select here. Just grab these guys here. And it's still only doing one. Where'd my other vertex go? It's probably underneath. Yeah, there. So there it is. So yeah, I guess when I inset, I actually outset. So it's underneath. Anyway, so let's do this. All right. I'm gonna fix this rather than just undoing. So I'm gonna first I'll get rid of this guy. So with just selecting this face, because I'll just redo this later, I'm gonna hit X and just delete or dissolve that face. So it's just gonna go away, or just delete the face, get out of here, dissolve the edges. There, it's gone. All right. And now to fix this guy, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select that face, and then I'm gonna hit Control Plus. And ordinarily, let me show you on the top what that would do. So if I hit this guy, this face that I shouldn't have any extra stuff on, and I hit Control and then Plus, it just starts expanding my selection. It just grows my selection out. Okay. On the bottom here, where oh shoot, I wonder which one I. It's fantastic. All right, now we got to find it. Control Plus. Yes, that's it. So I expanded, and now I've got 5 faces selected, but I can see it's not the sides here. Okay, so this is where my problem's at. And for the fix, we squirreled hard here. I'm going to go to Vertex. No, Mesh, and merge by distance. And at 0.0001 meters, oh, it just disappeared. You can see it said that it dissolved 4 vertices. So it took those things that were overlapping and just snapped them down into one. It merged them together. Sorry, that was a long squirrel for where we wanted to go with that. Anyway, so if you just merge those back together, then your bevel should be fine. Okay, sorry, we squirreled hard. All right, I'm going to do something weird with loop tools. So I'm going to grab all 4 of these now fixed stubby legs. Such a long table, it's a challenge to get in there. So I grabbed all 4. You can see here faces 4 selected, and I'm going to do something first. I'm going to inset them. So just I to inset. Don't come in yay far. And what I want is to be a little fancier and extrude out some circular legs from this. So I've got these insets here. They're each 4 vertices, which is not going to, when I turn 4 vertices into a circle, what do I get? A square. Yeah. Yeah. So I need to add vertices. So what I'm going to do with this is what we did before. And I'm going to mesh, edge, it's edge, subdivide. So I'm going to subdivide this. And we'll crank that up a bunch. What I'm wanting is just more vertices along the side so I can make a better circle out of this. We'll go up to like 5. Why not? So I've got a whole bunch of vertices here now. And let's see if I can do them. I might have to do them all at one at a time. We'll see if this will work. If I right click, and I've got my loop tools on. So right clicking, I get at the very top. Let me see if I can do circle. Yeah, it worked. Yeah, and so it took all the extra vertices that I had and said, this group, let's make that as much of a circle as we can. So now I've got a nice circle that I can extrude down. Let me just make sure everything looks right. Yeah, it looks good. They all look nice and round. And then I'll just E and extrude down some round legs now. Magic. Yeah. So first, edit needs you. So on your preferences, you need to make sure Loop Tools is on. So that extension, right? It won't show up here until you go searching for Loop Tools, and then you've got to like install or whatever. So with it installed, then I can select literally anything. So I can do it with this top here. I'll undo this. So I'll grab this face here, and then when I right click on it, Loop Tools is at the very top, and I just hit circle. So that's the nonsense it tries to do with the circle I've got on top. You got it? All right. Yeah, because I'm gonna undo that. That was horrid. All right. Let me go back. All right, now I've got them all selected. I extruded, but not enough. And so I don't need to extrude again. I can just grab those and physically pull them down. So I can have completely round legs. We can get creative with it. So I can pull down, and then let's say I want to scale it a little bit. So I'm going to have them fatten. By default, it wants to scale from the center of my model, but I can fix that. So I'm going to undo that. And then this guy up here looks like a chain. This transform pivot point. So I want my individual. I want to turn on individual origins. And now with all four circles selected, I can hit S and scale, and they'll all scale along their own kind of axis. Does that make sense? Instead of them all like skewing out. So I'm gonna just have that widen out a little bit, and then extrude down some more. S again and scale it back in. And then E to extrude down some more. And so I'm just adding like some shape. So we'll come down a lot. And then S again to scale. And we'll just have it like taper a little bit. E to extrude some more. S to come out. I'm literally just making it up at this point. E again. S again, come in one more time. And then the final little leg of our leg. Totally ridiculous, right? And for what? It's only your toddlers and your dogs are going to see the table legs. None of the rest of us even notice. But now this table is going to sell for a lot more money than it would have if we just had square legs on it. And that's economics. It's everything you need to know about the world. All right. I'm going to do a couple things here. So first off, I don't like the way the light is hitting this and making it look all faceted. So I'm going to right click on this guy. I'm back in object mode. I'm going to right click on him. And I'm going to go to Shade Auto Smooth. And we'll leave it at 30. So by default, it's at 30, and it kind of smooths out the edges. I think we talked about this last week. So it smooths out those edges that are 30 degrees or less. But if it's more than 30 degrees, we still maintain that little crease, like right here. So we can play with that number, make it bigger, smaller. Yeah, 30 is fine. It at least round some things out. All right, I'm going to come back here to this view, again, which I like because it shows the little cavities. I can see a little bit more of the detail I've got going on here. For whatever reason, now we have a table that's sunk into the ground, if we had a ground. And let me bring Spidey back and see how tall this table is. Yeah, my legs are not long enough. I don't know what happened here. This turned out to be a smaller table than I thought. Yeah, apparently it's a coffee table, not a huge gaming table. What's happening here? Is Spidey off? Apply his scale. He's at 1.8 meters tall, and this table is 2 meters long. Yeah, it's kind of short. So it's I guess it's literally where we think it is. Like it's like knee high to him, right? So it's definitely a coffee table. What happened to this? Oh, he's on this side. Yeah, so we got a knee high coffee table. So I want this to be our big gaming table. So I'm just going to grab the table and hit S, and it'll scale on all axes. We're just going to make that a big boy. So ignoring these numbers, I'm just eyeballing it. Let me pull that up. Here again, I can use these tools here. So I'm going to go to the X view, and I can see that from this orthographic view, I've still got legs sticking into the ground. Imagining that green line as my floor level. All right, so I'll pull that up. Now it's about waist high. That's more like it, I think. Is that right? Does it need to be taller? Could be taller. Let's pull it up a little bit more. Huh? I'll pull it up just a little bit. And then I can again go back down to this view here. Let me just grab my, oh good. The bottoms of my legs are still selected. So I'll just move those down. Or, you know what? Let's take the opportunity. I'm going to zoom in on these guys here. And we'll use that Control Plus that I was playing with earlier. So I'm going to hit Control Plus, and I'm just moving up here, the selection. I want to move all that down so that little knot is closer to the bottom. So I'm going to move those down closer to the floor, and we're going to pretend this is the table we wanted to build all along. I'm going to go ahead, and while I've got this selected, I'm going to hit Control A again and reapply the scale. So actually it's kind of, we might have made it too tall. Whatever, we don't care at this point. Spidey standing weird. I could probably use a better texture on that. Now we can get rid of that. Let's finish this table by giving it a texture. I'm sorry I did not warn you ahead of time. We're going to jump to Photoshop. Wow, the crying. Not Photoshop. There's other things we can use. We use Photo P. Who does not have Photoshop installed right now? Oh, because you're like, yeah, you use alternatives, don't you? You use other things. No, it's not at all. Okay. Everyone has Photoshop besides. Okay. All right. Then we'll use Photoshop. Cool. All right. Let's look at this first. So, well, we'll come back to it. I'm going to go to Photoshop first. So we go to Photoshop, click the button, wait for it to open, get a coffee, come back. And they're pushing AI. What in the world? Okay. I'm going to do a new file. And usually we do a nice square file of some binary number. Because we used to be restricted. There's a lot of things that we do in game dev or asset creation, even for animation, that it's because of restrictions that we had in the past that we don't have anymore. It is. But you know what? Having a standard at least keeps us like we're all working on the same page. So a nice square file is nice, and by binary number I mean it's either 2 by 2 or 4 by 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128. 256, 512, 1024. We get where yeah, just doubling all the time. Let's be super extra, and we'll make everything 4K. So 4096 by 4096 is way more detail than we need, but we're going to do it because whatever, we're here. And make sure that's on pixels because my goodness, 4,096 inches is going to be a really large file size. So I'm going to do 4096 by 4096 on the pixels. Just say create. Just whatever. Yeah. And then for whatever reason, by default, mine starts with a grid on. So I'm going to hit Control H and turn that off. We have a Photoshop textures class. This is not it, but that's a class you could take over the summer. Most of you probably will. But we're going to keep this simple. So what do I want for my table? I want just a wood grain for right now. Easy enough to do. So we're going to start with whatever two colors we've got in this little swatch here. So if I leave it on black and white, it's going to look dumb, but I'm going to go ahead and hit filter. You see my layers here. Okay, I'm on the background layer. I'm going to make a new layer. Plus that, and then I'm just going to hide the background layer. So I've got an empty layer here. Let's see if it works with an empty layer. And then I'm going to go to filter, and render, and fibers. And it's taking the two colors I've got, it's just making this fibrous texture here. You can play it to strength, variance, all these things, hit randomize, get different things. I'm just going for a rough wood grain. Black and white's kind of dumb for a wood grain though, so we can go choose different colors. So I'm going to go here to my black, and using just colors, wood colors, brown colors. Brown's really just kind of a dark orange. So I'm going to come over here to some orangish, and then just kind of play around here. I'm going to pick a nice dark one. And then for my second color, same thing. I'm just going to come pick some random orangey color. Maybe a little yellower this time. Go this color. There we go. So I want two brownish colors, and I'm going to do that again. So filter. This will just redo the filter I did before right up top, or again, it's under render, fibers, and then just play with those until they look kind of cool. Crank the variance up. We get more of a modeled look and less stretched. What strength is going to do for me. Appears to be just giving me smaller bits. So okay, so I've got a wood grain. Let me zoom in on this and make sure it's a wood grain and not just splotchy. Yeah, sort of. It's still wood grain. Let me redo it. So I want a little bit more stretch to it, but it's literally a one step once you pick your colors. Render, fibers. I'm going to pull the variance down some. There we go. Like that. So it's a little more of the lengthwise stretch. All right. That's it for Photoshop for now. Yay. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go File. And I like to do this export. Quick export is PNG. You can use all kinds of different file types. PNGs are just the cleanest for across lots of different platforms. So I'm going to do a quick export as PNG. And I'm going to get this. And I'm going to drop this directly into my textures folder that I just created earlier. So it's in Documents, Blender, this year, week 2 furniture, textures. And we're just going to call this wood grain. And it's a PNG. I'm going to save it there. And we're done. Maybe. Why are you spinning so much? Oh, because we're 4K. Took a minute to save. All right. All right. Now back here in Photoshop, not Photoshop, Blenderland, we'll apply that directly to our table and see what happens. So if I come over here, so again, this is the faceted, like just plain, everything's plain gray. And then the next little sphere over is with our textures. We don't have a texture, so it just looks white. Okay, so I'm going to come over here to my material ball, the very bottom of this like tab drawer, whatever it is. So the red material, create a new material here. Hit this, or basically I'm creating a material slot here. I'm going to hit this to create a new material, and we'll call it, I don't know, wood grain match the material. And here where it says base color, if I hit this little yellow dot, that's where I can bring textures in. Hit the dot and say I want to use an image texture. And it just goes black because it's like you didn't give me an image. Here's what you got. So image texture. Now underneath base, where we had base color before, I've got all these things that I can mess with. I'm going to hit this little folder that says open. And it's sitting in my scenes folder, right, where it opens to. So I'm going to go up one, find my textures folder, and say use wood grain. And now we've got wood on our table. I know. Ooh, hire me, Pixar. I'm free. Except for a few things, right? So wood grain looks really good along the top of the table. It's super stretched here. That is not like we got some stretchy like length on the wood grain here, but here where we extruded, it's just like so it looks a little weird. The legs look a little weird. Basically, anything that wasn't part of our original 6 faces on this cube looks off. We're stretching a little bit weirdly around the corner, and all of our extrusions are just taking basically 1 pixel's worth of that texture and like taffy pulling on it, so it's just stretched all the way down. So we just need to fix the UVs on our texture. I'm going to come over here, and we've got this UV editing tab layout up here. So hit tab in the UV editing, and I've got my table selected. I'm going to hit A to select everything, and I can see where all my faces are at. So by default, we get this cross shape. Because Blender supports Abilene Christian University, I don't know. That's just the way they unwrap a cube. And so everything that we extruded, like this is the same as the regular cube would be, everything that we extruded just stayed kind of in place. And so all that stretching along the legs and when we made it circles and everything else is just, it's all happening right in here. So what I'm going to do is the simple, dumb way to do it because I just want Blender to do the job for me. So I've got everything selected. Here, I'm going to right click. I think it's right click. Yeah. Let's go to UV unwrap, and smart UV project. And it's got all these settings in here. Yeah, cool. Whatever the settings are, use that. And now it's going to unwrap it and take all of our actual faces and lay them out over our texture a lot better. The other way we can do that instead of the right click is so I'm going to hit A to select everything, and then U for unwrap, and I get the same thing. So U for unwrap, and smart UV project, it just says, hey, do it for me. Super nice. So again, I'm going to come back here to layout, and we zoom in. We can see like our wood grain is going nicely along our legs. It's going actually sideways here. Right? Looks a whole lot better than that stretchy mess we had. So that's how to make sure your texture goes all the way around. Good? Everyone's super confused? You ready for a nap? Yeah, same. Maybe the coffee will help. Tell me if this wakes you up. Nothing? All right. Sorry. We got a nice table. I think we looked at this the other day when we were doing our whatever it was. But we can have multiple materials on a table, so we can go farm table style with this, and we can have part of it be white. And I think I've seen them both ways where the legs are all. So I'm going to come over here with this guy still selected. I'm just going to add another material here. And it's fine. It's already set up to be white. Cool. Now, if I go tab into edit mode, I can just select things and have them all change. So I'm just going to hit A and select everything. I'm going to change everything to this white material. So I select white, hit assign. Now the whole table is white. I want to come to the very top. I'm going to turn that. I don't want to move the top. I'm going to do the same trick we did earlier. So I've just selected the one big face here. I'm going to hit Control plus, plus, plus. Wrapped all the way down there. And just to be very accurate, I'm going to grab these ones on the bottom. All right, so I've just got the tabletop, and I'll come over here and select wood grain and say assign. And now I've got this style of table that's probably at your grandma's house, if not your parents'. I don't know. It was a style for a while. Yes. Oh, try the plus on your number pad if you've got it. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Sorry. I keep forgetting that not everyone has number pads on their laptops. That's my bad. Shoot. Okay, where's the other? If you don't have a number pad, I don't know how that's going to work. So there's a shortcut in the menu for selecting more that is not as short. It's just the keypad. So if I have this selected and I don't have a number pad, I can go select, select more, and it's the same thing. So, but I've got to do it each time. So select, more, less, more, and that'll get you that same effect, but it takes a lot longer. Because a click, click, click instead of just some keyboard strokes. If you find that you don't have a number pad on your laptop, but you're like, man, that looks way more convenient, you can literally buy just a number pad for your laptop. Plug it in USB or probably even Bluetooth, and just like an extra piece of keyboard you can carry around with you. I've had people do that for this class. So you can buy a numpad and hook that up and make life easier. So we did the table, and we're running out of time. Let's see what else we're supposed to do. We're gonna have a lot to build next week, or next class on Thursday. So let's see. We need to do a table. Oh, we need floor and walls. So let's just go ahead and do that quickly-ish. For floor, I'm just gonna make a plane. So I'll add mesh plane. Scale it up. And for this, we won't use Photoshop. We'll just go hit Google Images. Carpet, tile. Yeah. Let's go find something. Huh? I bought a house once that had carpet in the bathroom. It's your feet were we ripped that out. That's nasty. That's just disgusting. All right, you know what? I like this. This is cool. Yeah, no, that's the exact problem with carpet in your bathroom is it's going to mold real quick. Open image in new tab. Oh, that's not as cool as I thought it was going to be. Can I open the bigger image in new tab? Aha. Maybe? No? Dang it. Come on, just let me borrow your tile. I'll bring it back. Here. There we go. Oh, yeah, add the word game and we'll get actual textures and not like someone's trying to sell us some stuff on Home Depot. Oh, heck yeah. All right, we're sold. Here it is. Open images, new tab. I like it. Save image as. Let me just drop that to my same folder. Documents, Blender, this year, this week, textures, tile floor. It's okay to have a JPEG since we borrowed it. Same thing. So just on my plane here, Create a new material slot, create a new material, name it. What was man's first job on the planet? Naming stuff. Yeah. It's the first book in the whole, never mind. All right. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. All right. All right. So I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna come over your base color and say, let's use an image texture. And then once that opens up, I'm gonna hit this open. Go to my textures folder where I've already got it saved. And it's there. Those are huge tiles. Spider-Man couldn't have carried these tiles in. Maybe. I'm gonna fix this. So UV editing, and this is literally just one face here. So if I select it here, hit A, and I've got this one face selected. Now if I scale the face up, then it'll make the tiles smaller, which is kind of goofy, but it works. So I'm going to say resize at 4 by 4 by 4. We'll go back to layout and see that we scaled our. Huh? There's 100 ways to do anything. There's probably a tiling thing here, but since we were just going to use it on this one face, it's fine. So I've got a tile floor. You can, at this point, build boxes for your walls. We could also extrude edges up to be the walls. So let's just try that. So we'll do tab, go to an edge mode here, and we'll select these edges. If I do the whole thing, it's just going to bring it all up. But if I just extrude like one edge at a time, maybe, E, extrude up, and just using my mouse, it just goes wherever. Yeah, we're ending up with some old like wood panel walls accidentally. So I extruded it and it ended up like moving all over the place, which was awful. Let me fix that. I'm gonna undo and see if I can try something else. I'm gonna try extruding all of them. No, because then it's gonna bring the whole thing up. Extrude 3. Go. Yeah. You can see on the transform here. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that we only move on the Z. I'll just reset the X and the Y to 0. I said 0. Come on, man, get in there. Now it's straight up. It only came up by 3 meters. It's tall. Let's just go to an even 3. There we go. Now we got wood paneled walls. I can extrude this edge up now. Same thing. 0, 0, 3. Now there's no way out. Or you could not have that and just have it be diorama style. But we want floors and walls, and we'll come back and we'll add lots more furniture later. A weird shine here. Oh, it's this wall. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. Good. Just move that. Hello. Oh, I'm still in edit mode. That's why I can't select away. Yeah, it's a thing. All right. Let's see. Let's start a chair. Why not? We got 20 minutes, right? Ish. 17 minutes. We'll start a chair. I'm going to hide. Well, first I'm going to name my things because, man, what's my problem? So we're going to call this room. And then cube here is actually table. Because because when you get a scene and there's like cube 0 through 900, it's really confusing. Name your stuff. I'm going to hide those as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and hide the table, hide the room. Start with a new thing. So add mesh cube. We'll start it at 1 meter. And I'm going to S on the Z. And pull down. Let's just go like 0.05. Just type it in there. All right. So I've got, I guess, what could be the part of the chair we sit on. Yeah? Sure. Why not? I'm going to do a couple of things to this before I get too much further. Let me just see my table. Is that too big of it? That's a big chair. We'll scale it later. All right, hide my table again. I'm going to take one end of this. I'm going to go to tab into edit mode, and we're still a cube. I'm going to grab one face on one end here. Utility 3 to zoom in on that, and I'm going to just scale this down a little bit so we got like a little bit of a wedge shape. So this will be the back of the chair, and it kind of widens as it goes out. Again, if you walk through IKEA or Home Depot or anywhere else, there's lots of shapes and stuff to furniture. So I've got it wedged a little bit, and we're going to do this for this, the same thing we did with the table for now, right? We're going to grab this bottom edge. First, let me look, my scale's all wonky here. I'm going to Control A and apply my scale. Then go into edit mode, and we're going to do the same thing we did before. So I to inset, pull in, I to inset again for the bottom wall frame part, and then mesh, and nope, they keep moving on. Mesh, edge and subdivide. So I get my tic-tac-toe pattern. Then if I move those, since I've got a wedge, it's going to be weird, huh? Yeah, we'll just make more. There we go. There we go. So I added a lot of cuts here so I can get the squares in the corners. So we got more geometry than we need, but we'll take it. All right. So still using subdivide. Now I'm going to grab those, grab my 4 corners, grab that bottom frame part, and E to extrude down. Now just the legs. This is the same thing we did with the table. E to extrude down. I to inset a little bit. Edge subdivide. Same thing. We're going to make rounded circles here. So now that I've got inset and subdivided, loop tool circle. Now I've got my round little guys there. Ooh, it looks like they're poking out. Yeah. So let me try fit inside. There we go. So in this drop down for that, there's different settings. So I'm going to make sure it stays inside. I made them a little bit smaller. Did something weird with the corners there. I don't know what. Oof. What's going on with that? Mm-hmm. Didn't like it as much. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah. Because when I tell it to try to fit inside, it starts to warp it a little bit. So I'm just going to leave it like that, and then we'll use the scale tool. And I'm going to grab the blue here. There we go. So we're scaling it in a little bit, and it's staying round. Good deal. All right, and and then extrude them down. Now we got our round legs. And this is the same thing we did before. So I'm just going to do all of that and extrude, scale, extrude, make it kind of cute. Big wedge there, extrude some more. Right now I'm just going back and forth between E and S. Come down some more. S to scale it in some more. E, S to scale out. E to extrude down. E to extrude down a second time. S to scale in some more. And then the final little bit. Just so they kind of match our table legs. Goofy looking chair. Super goofy. Before I do the back, let me check in with Spider-Man and our table and make sure this is the right height even. It's kind of a low rider. Huh? Yeah, it's a footstool at this point. I'll scale the whole thing down just a little bit. And then go into edit mode. Control number pad plus, not the other plus. Sorry, everybody else. And I'll grab up to the top of that bottom nub there. And I'm just going to come to the side mode and pull them down. Round about there. Have a seat, Spidey. All right, I think that'll work. Okay, I'm going to hide the table, hide Spider-Man, and we're going to do a little bit more with the top here. We'll round the corners later for those toddlers. Okay, I'm going to go to edges here, which is my select. So I'm going to grab these two edges on the top, very side, wedge out. I'm going to connect those. So edge and then subdivide. So I've got one line between them. And then I'm going to do that again with these. I'm just kind of narrowing it down. So edge and subdivide. Maybe a little more. Okay, I'm going to go with that. Now from the very back here, let's grab those two edges, subdivide those a few times. Use the counter here so we get those kind of there. So I've gone to 6. I'm just looking for something squarish in the corner. And we're going to do the same thing we did before and extrude those up after we inset those. So I'll grab the corners. We'll start off with squares. We're not going to round these. These will be square for whatever reason. I to inset them just a bit. E to extrude them up. We've only got 7 minutes left. So the back of our chair is going to look a little ugly. We're speed running at this point. E again. We'll get that. E again. A little more. And then E again. Okay, and I'll show you something cool. So I'm going to grab this face here. And this face, that they're opposite of each other. First, let me inset them just a bit. And then with each of those selected, opposing each other, we'll show another tool, which is edge and bridge edge loops. So we just give a nice little solid piece in there. We'll do the same thing with the top parts here. So grab these two faces opposite each other, eye to inset just a bit, and then edge, bridge edge loops. All right. We can definitely pretty this up, but I wanted to show the bridge edge loops. We've only got a few minutes left. There is DET Chapel across the hall at 11. We've only got 3 minutes left. So let me show you what we can do with this chair. All right. So with it selected, I'm going to come back down here to the material mode here. And we've already got materials that we can reuse. I'm just going to hit this to make the slot. And instead of hitting plus for new, I'm going to hit this little drop down. And we'll just use our white color. Same thing here. I'm going to hit plus, use the drop down, and say we also want to use the wood grain. So the first one we put on there is what everything gets by default. And now I can go into edit mode and select some faces. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Control plus to get some more. We'll get the bottom ones. I'm just shift selecting around. We'll worry about the bottom later. And then I'm going to select wood grain material and assign. And we've got a chair that sort of matches our table. I kind of hate the back of this chair because we speed ran it. You can come in and grab pieces and move them around. So grab an edge. So grab this edge here. Select. I'm going to do the edge rings. It's going to get all that. And then another thing we can do is I can use my shift button. The control button. Come on. Control and then switch to faces. Now I've got all those faces. Selecting more, and I can just move things back and start to shape it a little bit better. Because right now the back of this chair just goes straight up. So you can move things around and shape it a little bit better. We'll continue shaping this chair and finish our other furniture on Thursday. Good luck. Have fun. So if you're working ahead, we'll do the other stuff on Thursday, but if you're working ahead, we're going to be getting, we're going to duplicate this chair once we're done with it. We'll make a bookcase, a round table lamp. We've already did wood textures, and we'll use metaballs again to make a nice big fluffy couch. And then we'll make some other new things. So come back Thursday. Yeah, we'll do more stuff. Cool? All right. Go to chapel. Y'all need it.